Go.
So thank you very much for being again here at the AFTERWORK. Today we have an impressive speech about what Andorra and the administration of Andorra is doing through Actua Tech Foundation. And here, well, basically they're in charge a little bit, and you can correct me if it's not, about the research, innovation. It's more the technical side more than the business side, which Actua is more business oriented. But as a research, they kind of creating a great platform that can help us in many points. No? So Marc today is gonna explain us everything about it, and I thank you very much, not only for being today here, but for the work you're doing. Thank you very much. Have the floor.
Thank you, Alex. Well, the idea is a little bit explain you, so I don't know if more or less you know about Actua Tech. Actua Tech was a foundation, a public foundation that we started, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. So the idea of Actua Tech is a private-public initiative. So it was started by the Ministry of Economy at the time, but together with the FEDA, Andorra Telecom, and the University of Andorra. At the beginning, Actua Tech, the idea was the foundation to promote Andorra as a smart country. But now we are reorienting a little bit the project and focusing more on innovation as a driver for social and economical change of our country. So, given the same structure, so we renamed it a little bit the project as Andorra Innovation Hub, and our main mission of the Andorra Innovation Hub is exactly to help to foster this innovation ecosystem in the country. So, how or what is our main mission, or how we want to go through this idea? So first is to reducing this distance between public administration, research institutions, so on, citizens and private companies. So as you already know, nowadays we are working, as we say here, Reino de Taifas, so everyone has his own silo, so be the public administration, be the private, be the researchers. And one of the opportunities that we have here, that we are small and we could be close in between institutions, is exactly to bring together both public administration, startups, or the private industry, citizens, researchers to work together through what we call implementing open innovation projects. That is exactly that. No? So is foster this kind of network that could permit this kind of synergy between these different kind of institutions in order to promote projects that could be could help to develop this innovation ecosystem, and also to have a project with an impact in the country. Second is to dynamize, to give this environment that could help first to innovate and transform first the public administration, and second also as an environment that could help to generate also opportunities for the business, for the small and medium companies and entrepreneurship countries in...
Can we interrupt?
Yes, sure.
I know nothing about, so I've been trying to understand the ecosystem of all the initiatives that were led by the government initially. Now, as you said, they're all going in their own way. So how do you position, because as you said, you're changing a little bit the focus, but for me there's a strong overlap with Actin, which was also promoted by government. So how do you position now Andorra Innovation Hub and Actin? Both, if I look at the mission, it looks identical to me, and they're both initially promoted by government. One is now totally private, and the other one is partially public, partially private. How do you see both of them working?
Actin is a cluster of the TIC and innovation company, so it's mainly private.
Yes.
There is an initiative to help to develop this cluster, but the mission of this cluster is not to put together to work public administration, researchers. So it's one of the key elements here.
Okay.
I mean, so you will see later some examples, but in my opinion, so Actin is one of the elements I thought in the private industry. So one of the problems is that, okay, we have this cluster, that's great, we have some meetings in between the public administration, the cluster, so on, but okay, what kind of means, what kind of project, what kind of goals we have to bring together to work. I think this is what we lack before, and we are trying to set up this, for example, to make that acting really plays a role in this connection with the, for example,
For I asked
the
the
light.
question to acting on event, and it's
Yeah.
just to understand who does what or what's, I mean, if you are a private company, how do you engage
Yeah.
in this ecosystem?
This is the main idea of this presentation today was exactly that. So far, as you will see, we've been focusing quite a lot on this objective, how we could dynamize and make the public administration to be more innovative. And the leg that we have to develop through the next year is exactly this one, how we really connect the private companies and the private industry in these ecosystems. Because so far, I think there are some projects, there are some examples, but we really have to put this in a next level. Sure. And finally, with the goal of offering Andorra as an international sandbox, as an international living lab, to prototype, test, and develop different innovative ideas, products, so on. And this is what I think we already have seen, that we are trying to position Andorra as an international living lab, as an international sandbox for prototype, test, develop different kind of ideas, be at the stage of research, be at the stage of prototyping of a product, be at the level of, okay, I have already a product and I want to test it at national level in order to be as a showroom for international innovative projects. In what fields? So mainly in the topics that we could be, we have some background and some know-how so far, be the kind of tourism, mobility, urban planning, health, environment, but also that some topics where we also, because our environment could be very attractive in order to be a sandbox for innovation projects. Here we also have started to develop an international network of institutions that they are already interested to this content, this idea of sandbox. So the most famous or most immediate collaboration is the one with the MIT Media Lab that we started some years ago. But in the last years, we're starting to join different kind of companies, research institutions, and other entities that are very interested in this kind of living lab, and we are already starting to develop several projects. One of the strategic projects in order to create this living lab or this sandbox is the National Data Hub. So what's the idea of the Data Hub? So one of, as we've seen, to be a small country, it can be a very interesting environment in order to be agile, to be fast at prototyping, but also in order to be close between different institutions. So this proximity also has a great potential in order to gather and share data, and also to offer this data to an environment. This is how we started to develop this data hub that has, we can say, 3 different goals. So the first is to be this advanced analytics platform in order to help to the decision making at country level, for example, different ministries, different institutions more at national level, to have this single view of a country, but also as a platform for transparency and for open data community. This is not the stage where we are right now, but in next stages, the idea is that this platform could be an open data platform for all developers and the entrepreneurs, for example, community or corporates or company of the country that could go there in order to develop ideas, projects, products, etc. That is exactly that. The idea of the data hub with this concept of open innovation could be a platform where we could co-create together, be researchers, be public administration, be corporates, or be open communities and citizens as individuals to co-create and develop here projects. Example, of course, Actin is one of the first that will be connected, or we will be Actin the first entity in the private side to start to work in the data hub. So far we start, as you will see, only in the stage of developing products for public administration, but now we started to design a framework in order to different actors could come here to develop with us. And of course, we'll start with the colleagues of the CIE, the AFEA, with colleagues of that team. We'll start to design this framework where we could start to contribute. So, for some examples, to see a little bit the approach that we are giving to the project, we are gathering different kind of information, different telecom data, from energy, mobility, transactional data, for example, from Visa, data from sensor, from IoT projects that we are doing, and starting from different verticals, different applications that we are starting to develop in this data hub. For example, in tourism, so we started a project in order to better understand what are the dynamics and the patterns of the tourists in Andorra. So, for example, given the telecom data, so we can explore what are the dynamics of the people in the country, for example, for tourists. So this is a great potential data that only this individual source of data can have, but for example, they have some limitations. So for example, you can see that in La Unión, for example, it's difficult to disaggregate if this is an individual that is going by foot or this is going by car. Because, for example, when you have congestions, a car maybe is slower than a... So if you could cross in this data platform, this data with other data that, for example, we are gathering with computer vision, that we can, for example, identify the number of people that is going through this area by car, by foot, or by bike. So, for example, the potential of having these two sources of data in this platform could give you a plus that working individually, for example, Andorra Telecom with this data, or this is a Cumulas Caldes with the other data. And this is a little bit the approach that we are trying to give to this platform. Okay, let's share this kind of data together in order to develop different synergies that crossing and working, co-creating with different sources and different actors, we can go a step further and develop tools a little bit more powerful. For example, in this kind, so with this kind of data, we are working with the Ministry of Tourism to understand the dynamics of this is, for example, the Spanish people, this is, for example, the French people, where they are, how they behave. Understand, for example, dynamics with implications not only in tourism mobility. This is, for example, all the people that is going in Gran Valira during one day, where they go, where they come from, in the morning, and in the afternoon, where they go. This you can see, it's very interesting project only for tourists, but here if we can start to work together with privates, with shops, with different ski resorts, we can have a really nice environment, not only to develop a tool for decision making, but also there could be some nice business opportunities for new products, new projects, etc. As some examples, so we are right now working to this kind of animation, give metrics, and have a platform. That this is the prototype that we are doing for the Ministry of Tourism, where you can go Sunday, for example, you could go to explore yesterday. This is an example of March from 3 to 18, how many visitors you had, the ranking by nationalities, if they were one-day visitors or tourists, then you can choose, for example, one nationality. Some of the French, and then explore for example, some metrics that they did overnights, the average overnight stay, well, some metrics that you could develop here, and then if you could cross this data, for example, the data of visa that we are starting to gather through this collaboration, and then link it together. So, for example, you can link, for example, the number of tourists you have with the expenditure when they spend, and then, for example, that you saw that we chose 3 weeks ago or yesterday, we could also have, for example, what kind of expenditure they did, in which sectors, compare this with different nationalities. So the same approach we are doing with mobility. So all this data that you saw, for example, from the telecom company, the Andorra Telecom, is very interesting for tourists, but also, for example, for mobility. So gathering all this data from the telecom company, from some computer vision projects, from some IoT also project with LoRa and sensoring, or for example with the GPS trackers that all the buses have. So gathering all this information in this environment, we are working together to create a real-time mobility model that could help to take better decisions. But also, for example, in this case with AIMSUM is one of the world's biggest providers of mobility models. They did the mobility model of Montreal, of Singapore, of Paris. So with this approach, they join us in the Living Lab with no other agreement that they give us the software to test it in our country based on the kind of data that we have. So they give us the license of this software for 1 year. They put us one developer, and together with the team, we are testing and developing this approach with the models, our data, in order to design new solutions for mobility, for example. And in this same approach, so we are working with other kind of data that we're gathering, for example, to understand implications in terms of pollution, of acoustic pollution too. So together we are creating, for example, new tools to better understand and link, for example, with mobility, different kind of visualization about the pollution in Andorra, in this case, in case of acoustic pollution. The same approach in mobility, in energy, sorry. So we are gathering also different information about energy consumption. So I will pass this one, maybe go this one through. So I think this is a small project, but this kind of nice, shows a little bit this kind of co-creation. This started as a research project with the people of the Sustainability Institute, where they simulated in Andorra all the solar energy, given the shadows of the buildings and the mountains. So here, you know a little bit about it. Then, this is the approach that is interesting as a living lab. So, Google and also, I think, the city of Barcelona tried to do some kind of tool in San Francisco and Barcelona, but they did it in terms of estimation. To be small, you can go building by building, so this is what we did with some teams of researchers, and we estimated the capacity to produce energy of each individual building of Andorra la Vella, Escaldes, Sant Julià, Ordino. So far we have, I think, this force. So we can go to any individual building, together with people from the industry, from the solar engineers, from energy companies. We estimated a model to calculate not only the energy but also the cost of the installation in each individual building, the revenue after the subsidized help of the government, and this same tool was used to design, for example, the new regulation of solar energy. This is a way that together researchers, public administration, and some privates of the industry work together through these kind of sharing tools and platforms in order, for example, to modify a regulation. We are doing the same approach in terms of natural hazards. So in the data platform, we are gathering all the information that is so far isolated in different platforms, in different ministries, in different institutions. The idea is to put together all this information in a single view of the country, and we not only to have this single view to help the public administration to take better decisions, but also as an environment to the researcher, companies, whoever wants to come here and design new solutions or prototype new examples. If, for example, this is a collaboration with ISTEC. ISTEC is a company from Luxembourg, from satellite imagery, for example, that they join us in the Living Lab in order to, they gave us the products in terms of satellite imagery, and we're using this kind of satellite imagery to look for solutions in mountain environment. For example, mountains was not one of the segments of the company. They mainly work with the idea of this company. They will launch by the end of next year 14, 15 Pico satellites. So far you have an image of Andorra every 2 days, or Andorra in Europe every 2 days. So they will provide one image or connectivity by satellite every hour. So they mainly work for tracking of big ships or big companies that aviation and ships that they will want to track their stocks in real time when they don't have 3G, 4G connectivity. So this is the main clients. But they were thinking that this kind of technology could have a potential, for example, for natural hazards in mountains. So they come to us, to this environment of Living Lab, throw the idea, and then we build a team in order to share. They share knowledge and products, and we share ideas and also researchers, and together with researchers, public administration and some companies, they are starting to develop new products, and then we will transfer this know-how here, and they will have a sandbox to prototype their projects. The same approach we're doing in drones, too. So in order to look for new technologies that could help, for example, ski resorts to better manage snow and then reduce energy, water, so on. Or for example, to introduce new technologies as drones in public administrations. So this is a little bit our idea of environment that could help, for example, to privates that maybe is difficult to convince some other actors now that this technology could fit. Okay, let's prototype together some project that could increase this confidence in this new technology to other actors that they really is difficult to convince them. Okay, our idea is not to be a provider of this kind of technology, for example, to the rescue teams, but to help to introduce them and then help to define how this technology could help this institution to perform better. This is another example with people from Bath, that the same approach of Living Lab, they are starting to come here in order to prototype their projects. I will go through, not to bother you too much, because the idea is not to give you too much examples, but to really to explain the approach that we are working. This is of course one of the projects that you already know, that it was also developed in this framework of the Andorra Innovation Hub. It was the same. So it came the Ministry of Education. Okay, we have these proposals. I don't know if this could be interesting or not. Okay, let's join together the different partners that could be interested in this kind of technology. We joined FEDA, Andorra Telecom, with the proposal in this case of BTC. Okay, let's do a prototype. Let's explore the potential of this technology. So we started to test how blockchain could help in terms of certification of the titles of the certificates of the university.
So one question I was thinking about that just even before the blockchain thing. How do you select a partner? Because at the end So this is what you call the blockchain lab, I guess. But for me, this is something that should be developed in an ecosystem. Just even to give it a critical view, you know. So how are you selecting the different partners? Some of them are obvious because they have unique technology, and obviously we're not going to compete with Visa because it's the only one that can gather the information from the payments, or even the ones that you were showing on spatial or geographical. But what's the process today? Because my understanding is that I'm a private company. I did that 3 years ago. You weren't there, but I went to all administration, okay, to Savoia, to ICE, to Bausis, all of them, okay? Spent a lot of time, lost a lot of money, got nowhere, okay? So I understand now things, or at least my positive view is that things are getting better now. But I don't understand what's the go-to route, okay? Because obviously the administration in Andorra is the biggest customer. Okay, so yes, even from a private perspective, I want to work for the administration. I know there's work, there's money in there, or there's prototyping capacity.
Yeah. This is the last slide.
Okay.
Your idea was not to show what we are doing, but the idea was to transmit, okay,
Sure.
as we've seen, most of the projects so far are quite focused on public administration, because the idea is to research public administration, but in most of them there were some companies working also there, not only in research.
Okay.
And some of them, for example the ones of drones, now is prototype and now is creating a spin-off to commercialize. It's not only research. So, but of course, the weight of the private is still slow. Why? Because first we wanted to create this environment to see how this could help the public administration to be more innovative, and now is the main goal for the next year is how we really connect this with the entrepreneurship and private industry. So far we are not as we should, of course, and this is why, because there was not any framework of how we could make these products participate in this. And this is what I wanted to start to introduce here a little bit, how we think that we could go through in a future. I was going right now there, so we will be working also in the field of how digitalization could help in fostering public participation and transparency of the public administration, and we're starting a couple of projects in this line. And another, we'll give you another 3-4 examples, also as a hub to link to other ecosystems, or interesting environments around the world that could help not only public administration but also our entrepreneurship ecosystem to connect to others and start to be our hub to this kind of environment. Some examples, well, this is in origin, you will know a little bit more about them because they will come here next week, this week, yes. By the end of this week, and I think they have an afterwork Thursday. Okay, so we closed an agreement with the EIT, is the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. They have very, very interesting, they work in different verticals, in education, in acceleration of companies and startups, and in different verticals, in health, in energy. So it's a very interesting partner that we're starting to establish a relationship with them. Not only in this case, they will come from one master of energy for smart cities, that we throw as a country different challenges, and some groups of this master came to work for these challenges, but we are exploring how this ecosystem could help to the companies of Andorra to explore or to explode their potentialities. Another example is the Skorkovo Innovation Center. Is called like the Silicon Valley of the Slavian part of it's in Moscow. So we are working with them to close an agreement quite soon in order of this vitellarity. So they have an ecosystem of startups, or more of 30,000 startups. So of course Andorra could be a nice environment for them to come to prototype in this kind of living lab, but they have what they call the soft landing program. That is, okay, if one startup from Andorra want to be interested to introduce to the Russian and not only Russian but the Slavian world, they have programs to introduce in terms of language, of how you can start to manage this kind of markets, how you can set up a company there. Well, we're starting to establish this kind of collaborations, and the one that you probably know about Barcelona Tech City, Meloe, but also with other markets internationally. We are also starting quite a very interesting conversation with Quebec. Quebec has a very interesting also ecosystems in terms of innovation, of digitalization, of health also, and we also starting to work this kind of agreements that could benefit both ecosystems. Green Tech is another example. This is a cluster of entrepreneurship of green tech companies of the Ministry of Transition Ecologique of the French Ministry of Environment, and this agreement is exactly the same. So on one side is how this kind of environmental startups could benefit of this sandbox of Andorra, but also how the Andorran companies could be benefited of the programs that the Green Tech Bird they have. They have challenges, they have acceleration programs, so the idea is that Andorran ecosystem could also benefit from this kind of agreements. And this is a little bit your question. So far as you've seen, we are quite focusing on working with how this environment could help the public administration, but for sure our main focus in the next year will be how we really connect well with the privates. So there are some just ideas, but we have set some budget from 2020. But the idea is to start to develop different mechanisms. Could be viability studies, could be for pilots and some calls from pilots, could be this funding some projects in terms of innovation or in terms of prototyping. So the idea is that next year, we're starting, but the next year to have already a framework through calls that you say how we select or how we make these companies or individuals participate. We have both. So one is you can come, so we are open to receive any kind of suggestion, and then if it's aligned with our strategies, our main topics, so we could look for how we could develop the idea. But in order to also be more, not only be passive, but the idea will be to develop several calls based on different topics that someone could present ideas, projects, and then will be selected based on if it's appropriate with this idea, some kind of economical approach, we'll see. But the idea is quite soon start to throw a couple of programs that could help to introduce the privates and the private industry to this ecosystem. And so on. So the idea was to give you
The TV is for questions and answers, so you can go